right, here we are. Sharif, I think, is coming at some point, but I got my man Cody here. We're going to talk. It's a big day, interesting day. Hippie, I would have started typing, but I can't talk to him and type at the same time. So I'm just going to pop you up over here. Any chance? What's going on, everybody?
Hippie was in there doing? Quick with the question.
Yeah. I'm a little like I'm hyped. I didn't sleep last night. I was taking care of Rocky, but sometimes like when you don't sleep, your mind's either on point or you're like lost in space. I'm like,
oh, you found your second wind.
Yeah, feeling real good. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing good tonight. Hold on a second to get rid of this thing here. I'll get to your stuff. What a day, right? I mean, I did my podcast today, Cody, and then as soon as I put it out, I look at the news. I'm like, what? I thought they were lying. I'm like, oh man, I got to do this whole thing all over again. And then I did it all over again, got it out. So it was a wild day. Jackson praying right guard, no way. He doesn't. If you didn't check my podcast out today, then you're a bad guy. But if you did, and if you didn't, Campbell destroyed Jackson on a bull rush today.
Is that fair?
And it's not to kill the kid at all, but it's to highlight that his ability is his feet, his agility, and his length, but he lacks ability to handle power and drive. And the more you go inside, except for center, like when you go to guard, you've got to have certain skill set or you're going to get bullied. He was terrible at guard. He's got a chance to do something at tackle. You don't want to move him inside. I don't think it would be successful. I don't see it. Maybe in a couple of years down the road if he gets more strength and stuff, but he doesn't have that oomph, and you really need that for that position. If he's going to find success, I think it's going to be at tackle. But down the road, it could change because he is so young, and he could get that man strength.
He looked a little more bricked up going into camp this year. He just looked a little thicker. Yeah,
it's weird. Look, unless like I used to be a power lifter, like I really was into it. Like when I was in college, I was a running back at 180, and I'd work out with the DNs, which were 220, 240. And thanks, man. A compliment. Thank you. Yes, you're a good man. I'm going to send you a Christmas card.
Yeah, Rick.
Thank you, Vic. I appreciate it.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Don't forget to subscribe and like and all that. I learned from Dougley Do Wrong, man, how to do it, man. That guy is slick. That guy is so smooth. He makes it like he could be like selling you like a bottle of poison water, and you like feel good about it, man. He does it so well. So I've learned from him. You gotta do your thing, man. So I appreciate that, Vic. But like and subscribe. But yeah, I wanted to become a bodybuilder. I never took any drugs. I've never taken any drugs. I mean, I got up to almost 500 squat. I was up to almost 500 deadlift. And these are not good numbers for powerlifting, but I was into it. But I was very dense. Like my muscles were very dense. So I was 180 pounds, and I could lift with guys that were much bigger than me just because I was a country boy. And I spent my whole life, running in the woods, climbing trees, jumping across barns, riding a horse, all that stuff. And my general structure, my bone structure, the way my hips are set, they're wide hips. I just have a natural strength. And, that's how I made the team is I started out as a D end at 180 pounds. That wasn't supposed to make it. And they had helmets on and I didn't. I was cracking my head against them. And I was apologizing. The coach was like, what was this guy? And so my physicality got me to get a kind of like a second look along with some other things. But Jackson is a big guy. But if he doesn't have the density, if he doesn't have that some genetic propensity for strength, you can work it up. But you're talking about the best of the best of the best. And just some guys, they're freaks. And some guys, they look like freaks, but they ain't. And he's young, but so far he looks better than he actually is, in my humble opinion. I'm no expert or anything, but I've done it for a long time.
We just need adequate right now on this line.
Yeah,
adequate and availability. Those are what
I think availability is the key.
Yeah,
and I my biggest concern is not if you look at Jackson last year, until he was abandoned as far as Connor and Hunt were out and he had to take over the leadership role, he didn't really have a lot of struggles. We protected him. But this year, who's going to protect him inside? So that's going to be it's going to be interesting. Can he take that next step? Can he become a leader? And if he gets, the spotlight on him, can he hold his own and allow other guys to get help? It's going to be very, 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 very interesting. But the O-line, I don't think the O-line is getting solidified. I think that Eichenberg is – because they were training Driscoll at center. And he's not really a trained center. And so what I think they're thinking is that Eichenberg is going to be the starting guard. They need a second backup so they don't have to pull the starting guard to the center position. So I think what you're going to get is Tehran, Wynn, Brewer, Eichenberg, and Jackson. Will it be good enough? We got some talent to create leverage. I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't worry about it until we get there. You never know. You never know what's going to be, Oh, anyway, 72, Vic. You're an old dude. Not to say nothing wrong, nothing negative against you, man. You're lucky, too. You got to see the perfect season. Wow. I thought you were a young guy, man. I mean, you are young, don't get me wrong, but like young. So that's really it. So I guess we'll talk Tua tonight. Cody, I want you to kick it off because I've just been yammering. What's your take on Tua getting a big contract? I think that's the first thing to talk about.
Yeah. I think it's only going to be positive results, short-term and long-term. This had to get done. In our email, Scott said, are you hearing that? Is there a little reverb? Are you hearing anything, or does it sound good to you?
No.
Okay, good. So Scott sent an email. He said there really wasn't another logical way for this to end, other than Tua getting a deal that he's okay with, the team's okay with.
Nope.
And then my friend just sent me the Love deal. And you're just looking at –
he got a deal too?
He just got a deal too.
Oh,
so
man.
It's in the same ballpark. So you're just looking around going, so this is the cost of doing business with –
What was the deal? You got to give me the scoop.
I think it was 4 years, $220. Somebody can post it in the –
220. What was the guarantee? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but he had a giant $53 million signing bonus is what I remember reading. I read it right before I got on.
Wow. I missed
it.
Thanks for informing me, man.
The cost of doing business, it's just – it doesn't make sense to us. And it seems like, you're going to hamstring this team. I think we were remembering Drew Brees, 10 years ago when he was 35% of the salary cap. And in our minds, we're thinking that's what happens when you pay your quarterback. But things are different right now. The salary cap is up there. It's not that type of a hit. It used to be. Yeah, it sucks. It's a lot of money. But if you have anybody who can just top 15 starter, you just have to pay him. That's what it is right now. See, there we go. Yep. 75 million signing. Wow.
Thanks, Alf. Hey, how you doing?
What's up, Alf?
Alf's a good guy, guys. If you I'm learning Alf. Alf is like another savvy kind of dude. He's a big business guy. If you haven't subscribed, you don't listen to 3 yards per carry, Al, and you don't know who Alf is, you probably do, but he's a great guy. I mean, he really is. Don't you read his? I think I said in my podcast or whatever. You read his tweets. I was like, this guy's a real bastard, but he's the nicest guy, man. He's a hard worker and he really knows his business.
He doesn't have patience for stupidity, I believe, is what his deal is. But going back to Tua, I think Tua's going to be able to play free. We saw Tua last year, heavy, slower, definitely getting rid of the ball quicker, would not take a hit, just couldn't extend the plays mentally, I think, because he just didn't – he had to get the bag. He had to not get a concussion. He just couldn't play. He's kind of a reckless. Go look at his Tua, his Bama tape. He's reckless, man. A little too reckless, obviously. It's got him into some injuries, but I want to see the Bama.
He's a gunslinger, man. He really is.
I want to see him free and easy, not worried about that. Still playing smart. Obviously, take what you've been learning about getting rid of the ball and keeping your body healthy. But I want to see him play free, man, and just be that Bama Tua we love.
Hustle, I've got to ask something because I screw up. If I screw up, I screw up all the time, but I screw up most when it comes to this cap stuff. All right, so record 75 million signing bonus and 155 million fully guaranteed. Wasn't Tua like 161 fully guaranteed, or is that 75 plus the 155? Or what does that mean? Like for like a monkey?
We need someone smarter than us.
Yeah, because Tua got 161, didn't he? Like guaranteed, or is that like not
167?
That's probably like roster bonuses and stuff.
Yeah, who knows? He got a giant raise though. I know that.
Yeah, we might, but you got to think about it this way, Damon. All right, so last year, Ross increased ticket prices by 30%. You look at the equity on his franchise. I don't know what he bought it for, but it's gone up a couple of billion.
Crazy.
Nice. And so you're going up between, and it could change because I think the economy is really slowing down. I think there's going to be economic things hitting the world very soon. But I could get to that. But if you just follow the track as it's going now, you talk about 20-25 million a year added to the cap every season. And so I don't really think it's a big deal. I really don't. I remember people freaking out over Allen's contract, and now it's paltry. Look at Mahomes. It was like a big deal, and it's 45 years. So, the way they structured it, I think that they try to gamble and they try to get it for a better price. I think they got caught with all these contracts that were much higher than they thought. And maybe they didn't even think that Tua would like go all in like this. But they might have shaved a couple million off here or there. But still, even by next year, this is going to look like a good deal. He's the eighth. He's the eighth. I think they said eighth highest. By next year, he'll be 10th. And then you got to figure from his standpoint, they're going to tack on the 18th game. How much more money these owners going to make?
Yeah.
And is a guy who signed a contract last year, he's going to play that 18th game. Is he making any more money? I don't know how that works. So I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. There's a lot of money to go around. Your quarterback, I don't think it's as valuable as people say. I think he's a piece of the puzzle. He's an important piece. He sets the ceiling for a team. But I don't think, Hill's going to make probably 30, 35 a year or something.
Yeah.
And he's a receiver.
No, you show any talent behind the quarterback position, you're going to make some money. Like, look at Daniel Jones. Where do you want to rank him? Like, he's in the 40s something, but he's still making a lot of money for somebody. There's another Ryan Tannehill, but that's not our deal. We don't have to worry about that. So
Nah. There's a lot of guys. I mean, look, even if you look at Mayfield, I don't think he's getting a guaranteed money, but he's making 40 something. So the difference between Tua and him is like $8 million or $9 million. That's like chump change. We had Barrett signed for $9 million for one season. You can make it fit. I think that it was Greer should have done it earlier, but at this stage, I think it's a good deal for everybody. I think Tua has an opportunity to make a big contract. I think it's manageable. I think that you can get out from it in a couple of years if you don't like it. I think it's good. Anybody not think it's good? I don't know.
Well, if you don't like Tua, you don't think it's good, but
what do you do?
Greer starts insultingly low. I think that's his game when he makes an offer. And I think all the different, like you said, outs and maneuverability, the way they can update these contracts, make them team friendly. I bet there's a lot of language that took a long time. So Brandon Shore and Chris Greer had all of the angles they needed going, down the next few years to do what they need to do with this contract and keep it flexible.
From what I'm told, a couple people said it. I don't know if it's true or not, but basically that Tua wanted guarantees and they wanted incentive clauses. And so, I understand their standpoint. He's got a lot of injuries.
Yeah. I wish they'd fully guarantee all of them. And then we could be done with that. But
it's hard. Football's a weird sport, man, because the injury situation, it's bad for the players because, look at the punter over with the Lions, tore his hammy. I think it was a Seahawk or Ram cornerback second year in, tore his ACL in practice. What if Tua comes out and he screws himself up? And now, these guys need deals. But then, as a team, how, you sign some guy to a huge guaranteed $200 million contract some guy blows his knee out and he's never the same. And so I like they did it with they did it with Watson. So
maybe that's how you get the contracts, the high end value to go down is to fully guarantee them, and maybe they'll stop ballooning up.
That's true. RB's getting pennies, man. That hurts me. I was a running back. I grew up, loving running backs. I would dream about running the football. Wanted to be Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, Larry Zonka, and man, that's kind of it's sad.
The workhorse is gone. It's dead.
Yeah,
there's no more workhorse backs really.
I don't know. I think
Nick Chubb. I feel like that guy's just a stud running back.
He was a stud. He had a great line though. But I feel like the NFL's in cycles. And I feel like the running back and the running game is actually starting to take more prominence now. It's starting to rise. I don't think it's ever going to go back to what it was, but they can't stay this poor forever. I don't know. I'm hoping. Yeah, even their detractors are rejoicing. I'd say, Miami Kid, what's going on, brother? Tua got paid, so now the pressure is on. The excuses will officially come to an end. Another quick exit out of the players won't cut it. Overpaid by way more. Okay, so all right, I think that's a fair take. But what you're saying here is that he's going to determine quick exits. So would you say Dan Marino's a good quarterback? He has an 8-10 record in the postseason, and if you look at that, you would say that's a loser. He went to one Super Bowl, and then after that, it was like one wild card victory mostly, and then loss. One wild card victory, and then loss for the most part. But did he determine whether the team won or lost? And I obviously don't think so. I think Tua will play a part. Like if Tua's driving down the field and he throws the terrible pick, then you can kind of say that. But when you get team-wide failure or side-wide failure, I think you've got to judiciously hand it out to who deserves the responsibility. For me, I look back last year, I did the numbers, and every team just about, except for like one game, and it was really close, that won the rushing total, had more rushing yards and attempts, won every game. And you could say, well, that's because they were ahead, but it wasn't. There was close games. The rushing total was a huge aspect and protection. And so I think that until Miami can show that they can protect, I think it was a number came out. I got to add to my little list. We were 31st in worst protection over 2.5 seconds. You don't win like that. We couldn't inside. We had I forgot what the percentages of running inside success. So I think Tua, if we get there and everything's going good, like remember Neil O'Donnell in the Super Bowl, they should have won that Super Bowl with Pittsburgh, and he throws two picks and they lose the game. Like that's a game you go, this guy lost the game. He's a bum. He's screwed up. And there was gambling allegations, but we won't get into that.
Was there really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a lot, dude. I actually, I don't want to say because I could get sued or something. But I met somebody's cousin who played for the Dolphins back in the 80s, and this guy was a giant, and he said there was a lot of stuff going on. He was telling me a lot of things. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Man, who knows about now? But yeah, it seemed that way.
Something I heard today, Curtis, that we can talk about now or later, but it was on Kyle Crabb's show talking about McDaniel, his play calling, and the way we are going to possibly attack the season and not try to rely on such big plays and turn into more of a time of possession team. A team that will attack underneath a little more, a team that's going to run the ball more. And you think about the whole year last year, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what we needed to do in so many games, even the games we were behind. Start doing some time. But we just seemed like we didn't want to hold the ball very long because we thought we're going to score as fast as possible, no matter what. And I think philosophically, if we can shift a little bit, we brought in John and we brought in another power back. I think we can do that. I hope that Mike's a smart son of a bitch. He's got to see that time of possession drives and start. I don't know. What do you think of that, Curtis?
Well, I think he is smart, but there's so many things that go into it. But it's like a chicken or an egg. Okay. And, you know, maybe somebody agrees with me, it doesn't agree with me. That's fair. But I think you'd have to tend to agree with me a little bit more because it's my foundational principles. That whatever happens at the trench, whatever happens at the line of scrimmage creates a backwash, a ripple to everything else around it. And so if you're an offensive coordinator, you know your talent. You know your talent better than anybody. There's no way that he doesn't know his talent. And if you look at it, that when you start game planning, you're understanding your talent. You're taking an overview of the philosophies of the team that you're going against, and then you create an overview of philosophies of how you're going to handle their strengths and attack their weaknesses, and then accentuate your strengths and protect your weaknesses. And then you start building the vehicle through calling plays to get it done. But it starts at the philosophical level. It always does. And that philosophy is driven by talent. You can have any philosophy you want, but if you don't have the talent to drive it, then, you know, it's not going anywhere. It's a horse. The football is a game of horses. Now, you don't have to have the best, and a good coach can beat a better team here and there. But so when Mike McDaniel started calling screens at the beginning of the year, we were like 3 or 4%. And then by the end of the season, we started ratcheting up till we were top 2 in the league, 15%. And you have to understand what he's doing. It's not like he's just rolling dice, go, hey, I'm going to call a screen now. Screens are designed to offset undue pressure or take advantage of a blitz. And when you're calling 15% and you're running 30% play action, 45%, almost half of your pass plays are designed to mitigate pressure and support your blockers. That says, as an offensive coordinator, your philosophy is, I can't block.
Yeah.
And then when you add in throwing quickly, it tells you the story he understands. And so we can work through that. And the deep plays were because that was a way to get over the top. It was attack certain sectors to get big chunks because we weren't so certain about our consistency. And so I think that McDaniel understands. He's going to work underneath John in the passing game. The run game is going to be difficult unless we can get those draws to be successful. Like today, if you notice, there was Tua had the 70-yard touchdown, and they ran a play action, and Ramsey bid on it, and Hill got a touchdown. You know, so there's a whole understanding. The big thinkers of football, there's a whole talk, old school guys and new school guys on play action. Some people say you just run play action for pass protection. Doesn't matter if it's successful or not. The old school guys, they believe that when the play action is successful, it opens those opportunities for the big play. And you're doing it not necessarily for the pass protection, although of course you are to a certain degree, but you're doing it to create big plays, because as the run game is successful, guys creep up, they bite, and it opens things up. And so McDaniel has Jonnu, he has OBJ and the rest of the guys that can do all kinds of stuff. But until you threaten that interior and get those 4 guys to worry about not controlling the run game and not getting pressure and start bringing in the 5th guy, then you're not going to get the full usage of it. But if he starts lending more towards the West Coast offense like he's supposed to, and just gets like your HN had a big play today. So if you can put more guys in routes with speed,
especially a guy like HN, because who's going to line up against him? You know?
And then Tua is going to be able to make his money. You're going to be, I think this year you're going to be able to judge Tua far. Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah.
It's a good one. It's a good relic.
Yeah.
Good relic.
Because our guy.
Number 1. I think in previous years, you couldn't really gauge him properly with his ability to go through progressions. Of course, he fails him here and there. But when you're only putting 2 or 3 guys, when you're running 30% play action, which means you're putting 2 and 3 guys in routes, rather than 3 and 4, and you're running screens 15% of the time, there's no progressions. But now you can have Hill, Waddle, OBJ, and John. All those guys are threats, so you can get the 4 guys out, get the ball out quick, and he can go through his progressions, and you're going to see what he's really made of this year. And if they can just do the West Coast, get the ball out quick, let guys make plays and rack, you might not need that run game so much. It can kind of be like the San Francisco offense with Craig, who ran the ball effectively, but was more of a pass catcher. And so I think the inside run game is going to be important. I don't think it's going to be as important if we can keep these guys healthy and get them in routes. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But ultimately, you're going to go against the defense that's going to tax your 3 guys and your tight end, and you're going to have to keep guys in the block, and you're going to restrict guys in routes, and it's still going to get pressure, and then you're going to have to make stuff happen. And it's going to come down to how much that offensive line can raise the bar just enough. They're not going to be elite, but can they block just long enough to
Stay
get
healthy?
Yeah, and get those guys into routes and let him go through his progressions to hurt them, to back them off again.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We don't have complete scrubs at starters. We didn't have complete scrubs last year. We had a decent looking line. We just need these guys to stay healthy.
Yeah. But we also had a really that left guard position was not
what if we had the 18th overall offensive line? Wouldn't that be amazing?
I think we'd be a monster.
So the bar's low, guys. The bar's a little low, man. Let's get it this year. I'm ready for a football game right now, man. Jeez. This is tough waiting.
Oh, so no, I appreciate you putting these comments up, because it's good to kind of go to.
Where's Alf? Not top 10 defenses or top 5 defenses, but maybe some top 10 teams. Where's Alf here?
I'm going to get to him. His numbers against top competition's abysmal. It's to a certain degree, but then you have to ask yourself, so is Hill's. And so is the run game. So is the offensive line. How many guys, go back, if you got a chance, go back, watch the games, see how many times we call play action against those good teams. How many times we kept extra guys in, how many times we called screens, how many times we couldn't get runs. I mean, you look at our run yards, it was phenomenal, but it was almost all on first down.
Yeah.
You go look at our production in the opponent's territory. We were like number 1 and number 3 in offensive holding. We were like number 1 and number 3 in more than 1st and 10 on first down, and more than 3rd and 12 on 3rd down. And so, I'm not saying the kid is, walking on water, but when you put certain people in certain situations like this, they're not conducive. They're just not. And it's not just him. This whole team folds. Sometimes not the defense. The defense does pretty good mostly. But, if you go look at the philosophy of what we're calling on offense, and then you say, well, is that pass conducive or it's pass reduction? And the more screens you call, the more play actions you call, these are pass reduction, because you're not putting guys in routes. You look at some of the best passing offenses, they're not really calling screens to that degree. They're not calling play actions to that degree. They're able to block with 5 guys. Look at our numbers of blocking with 5 guys. It was terrible. We had the worst in 14 years. Alf's guy, who's very, very smart, Chris Kaufman, worst pro set pass blocking grade in 14 years. Now, here's the thing. We threw faster than anybody, and we had 45% of our plays that weren't even involved in true pass set protection. So the sample size is small. When you get a small sample size like that, you're supposed to have very good production. It's as the sample size gets bigger, you see the more true value. So if we had to increase that sample size, they would have had a worse grade.
Damn.
So he had to reduce that sample size by running screens and play action passes all day to constrict the sample size, because they sucked and they couldn't handle a small sample size. And so I think that is a very important thing.
And what Poyer made some comments saying Miami, you kind of felt like if you got on top of them, they might fold. Here we go. Let's see what Alf's got. Ralph, come on. Miami Dolphins are 3-13 on the road in the playoffs in their history.
Yep.
One of the wins was in 2000 versus Seattle in the Dome. The other two were in 71 Kansas City, 72 Pitt.
And you know what? Look at our
How many
build.
years? We got 40 years we're talking about here.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Just 50 years of
But look at our build, 71 to 72. What could we do?
run the ball. Play
Running the
defense.
football is a consistent method, and it's a traveling method.
Yeah.
Running the football is all environment. It's inclusive. You can use it in any environment. You can
Time of possession.
travel. Yes.
The
It's
Patriots
travel.
always had a running game. You look at all those Patriots teams,
Thanks,
they
Al.
could all run the ball. They could
Yep.
all run the ball. They were committed to it every year.
Yep. You got to look, if if you're in a dome and you're playing other teams in your division or in your conference, they're mostly good teams and they're in warm climates and they're in domes, then you can have a heavy pass team and you're not going to be restricted. But when you're talking about Kansas City, Cincinnati, maybe the Jets if they're any good, Patriots for years, Buffalo Bills, the Browns are pretty good. There's a lot of teams that you got to go to unless you win home field advantage. The Ravens,
Kansas City.
and there's no way that anybody who's ever been a pass trying to throw a pass in bad weather could say that's what I want to do. You run the football, and so we had those 2 wins because we could run the football and be physical.
Yeah. Hopefully Wright is a sign of things to come. Drafting Wright.
Yeah, Alpha's got it right there. Right there.
It kind of feels like that our real shot with the team we have right now is to win the division and get some home games.
Hey, am I comparing Tua to Neil O'Donnell? Me? No, I'm saying Neil O'Donnell is a guy that you can point that to in that Super Bowl to say he lost it. The rest of the team won it. They should have won. If you didn't throw those 2 picks to that safety who was never any good, they would have won. You could pin that loss on him.
Lamar against Kansas City. Sorry, you can pin that loss on him.
Yeah, but you could say Dan Marino lost the Super Bowl to San Fran, but that would be almost ridiculous because they had like 7, 8 guys in coverage and they were old DBs. Like that was a more like ethereal evaluation, one you can't really put your finger on so quickly. But Neil O'Donnell, he lost the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
and what big game did Tua just completely just crap the bed? 5 interceptions. Like, oh, what we would have won if Tua would have thrown the ball accurately today. Like Tua's had some bad drives, bad moments, but he's not losing the games for it. We really are losing as a team. We're losing as a team, and we want the microwave society we have. We want a quarterback who, when the chips are down, they're going to put the team on their back, regardless of this, regardless of that. There's not that many dudes that do that. And they actually have more help in that game than you think, than just putting that all on their own back and doing it. There's play calling, there's blocking, there's a lot of things happening for them to be able to put it on their back.
Yeah.
And if we don't have a quarterback that goes out and does it, he sucks. He can't win in games. It's like these guys can play, man. Build around them. Go to their strengths. Tua's got so many strengths we can build around. He's not the reason we're losing. He might not have been the reason we won some games, but he's not the reason we're losing. I don't get the hate for this kid. I really don't, man. I think it was the injury, the hip injury, and people who didn't scout him or didn't really know about the kid, they see what he shows up in the NFL like, skinny, kind of weak-armed, and they just make their first impression of who Tua is, and they're not watching this 4 years of growth, steady growth, and they just kind of made up their mind on him. I think that injury. What else? Why is he so polarizing? Because he's a lefty. Because he doesn't throw it hard. I mean,
it's not even that. It has nothing to do with that, really.
It's crazy.
The media. Look, the media. There's a video I posted on my Twitter thing, X thing, whatever it is, and it was what's his name, Lebitard, and he did a great thing on Dan Lebitard on ESPN, how they're morphing sports journalism. Modern media is no longer about trying to present journalism. It's not about trying. I studied journalism. I wanted to be a journalist. That you read Elements of Journalism. It's a foundational book, and you go through that and you realize that we don't do that. And the sports media is not about that. They can't get clicks that way. People themselves are partly involved in that because they want tribalism. They want quick delivery. There's been a huge influx of fans who know nothing really about the game or little about the game or are learning about the game.
Bingo.
And so when years ago, it was more informed audience. And so now you find a guy, all right, you find a guy. There's people who don't like Christians. There's people who love Christians. So he's a polarizing character. He comes in, he's loved. He goes from Alabama. He's got the injury. They still draft him 5th overall. Reports come out about this and that. He has a bad time. Flores pulls him out. Flores hates him. And he's no good. And all they do is sit in the background and they create tension as a duality. And so every action has an opposite and equal reaction. And so the more you create fanaticism and two polarizing sides, then you get easy clicks. And there's people out there who just say stuff. They don't even believe it. They just say, Tua's the greatest. It's Tua Sunday. He went to the bathroom yesterday. And then people are like, Tua's the greatest. And then the other people, you see that Tua? He threw a pass and it was 2 inches outside the guy's hand. And it was an important play. He's the worst. And then everyone's, and it means nothing. And this is the modern media. And unfortunately, it's everywhere. Yeah. And he just he's specific. He fits. It's like Tebow. And it's not to say he's as equal to Tebow, but Tebow was another character that was ported in with their own fan base, a big fan base. And so you have that opposing force already. Then you create the other opposing force and you get the polarity and then you get the easy clicks. And he's just perfect for that. And so is Tebow. And, they tried to do it with Mahomes after he lost the Super Bowl. He lost the Super Bowl because he had no tackles. And the first thing, was he really as good as we thought?
That game was, I don't care if that was your first football game. You'd be like, wow, an offensive line's pretty important, isn't it? After watching that. Oh, yeah. That one's an easy one.
That's true, hippie. That's true. You can't. It's got to be a tandem. You've got to be able to support your defense. And that's what Harbaugh said. He goes, there's no only unit in the game of football that's totally independent, that sets the table for everybody. And he said, when a defensive guy goes, doesn't do it for us. He goes, you like sitting on that bench and getting rest, don't you? You like time of possession, don't you? He's like, oh, yeah. So everything, it's great to get the score. But how many times have you seen teams come out, they score 3 times quick, and then all of a sudden their defense get gassed and they run out of steam. Yeah. So
the offensive line wants to stay on the field the whole game. They would love that.
They love that. That's the thing is when you're running the
ball.
You beat people, you hit them. It wears them out. It's offensive linemen love to run block. Most of them, almost every single one of them. They love to hit. They get to the line of scrimmage. They're like, I know who I'm going to hit. And the other thing is you got to sit back in the stance and wait for them to attack you. So, and it builds confidence. A lot of stuff that, goes into running the football. You don't want to teacup it. We're not going to be 72 Dolphins, but if our rookie tackle performs well in preseason, could we start him at right tackle? No way. This kid is a good kid. I don't really like so many people, like right out the bat. I'm like, Sting, be still, or Shakespeare, be still my beating heart. I've been taken for a fool. I don't get like I used to. But this kid is a good kid. He's a smart kid. He's an eager kid. And he's possibly a huge talent. Jackson was thrown in too quick. Eichenberg was thrown in too quick. This kid needs to be developed. He had a couple false starts today. He pancaked a couple people, but he struggles in the run game. This kid is something that you need to treat with respect. Let him sit in the back. Maybe towards the end of the season, he comes in some, washout time. Lamb's got to start. Jackson's got to start. Tehran's got to start. This kid could be special. This could be, even if he's like above average, that'd be huge for the Dolphins. They need to do this right because you can lose your confidence, and I don't think he's going to be ready. Some people tell me guard. He's going to play guard. There's no way. His leverage. He's got to get his leverage. He's got to get comfortable. He's got to be set up to win. And
can he play the fullback position that Christian?
No. He's too tall. You got to remember that when you look at the players and what they're trying to achieve, physical prototypes play a huge part, and is many reasons for it, but leverage is one of the hugest reasons. And then you got to look at their ability to get low. and to drop their hips, and then you work out from there. He is not really good at that. His hips are not. He doesn't drop himself well yet, and he's tall. So no, he's a tackle, and you just want him to get there and get comfortable. And you know what? If we're up by like 21 points and there's 8 minutes left, let the kid come in.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like there's no pressure, and let him see. Hey, you know what? I could do this game. Hey, I should have done that better, but I'm not getting my quarterback hurt. Maybe White or Sky, who cares? I'm not saying who cares, but it's totally different than Tua gets hurt.
If we're a team that is their whole philosophy is player development, they know how to put him in. They know when to put him in. They know, and they got a really good couple tackles in front of them to learn from, especially Armstead. But Lamb's no joke either. There's two guys to learn from right there.
Yeah, Lamb is a good pass blocker. You just, you want this kid by next year. I hate to say it. I love Tehran. I really do. Tehran's one of the guys I love right off the bat.
I'm sticking.
He's got the injury thing or whatever. I don't want to talk about it. But, if I'm a GM, I'm like, you know what? I want Patrick Paul to take over next year. I want to be able to free up that cash, or at least have him keep Tehran in there and have this guy be my second. But not this year. Lamb, Tehran, and Jackson. You paid Jackson big money, so I don't see that. Worst game I can remember from Tua was a 49ers game. Everyone else was relatively executed. Tua was off. The other games I saw fails. Yeah, I agree. Although I didn't like the game plan. Go back and look at the 49er game plan. I can't remember it off. I did a bunch of studies on it. My noodle's a little weak. But if you go back and you look at the game plan, I thought McDaniel in that year, he has a tendency to not be patient. He's not a patient guy. He wants to score quick. Yeah. And he doesn't want to – like if you notice Shane Gailey, and he was an old dog. He's done it for so long. That was a patient guy. That was a guy who had a lot of – yeah, very good. And it's hard. It's so hard. He's got a very hard job, McDaniel. But you've got to set things up. You've got to think within the scope of the play, the drive, the half, the game. And if you watch Gailey, you can get an amazing lesson on he had not much to work with. He had Tua who didn't know the playbook because it was too big for him to learn quickly. And he wasn't fully healthy. And he called up about 6 or 7 big plays that year, but he knew how to set things up. He would run the football. He'd get them in position. Hey, maybe we're not going to get a first down this time, but you know what? I'm going to run on this down. I'm going to call this on this down, and I'm setting things up for later. Mike McDaniel's more like, let's score. And if he gets it, it's good. But then if he doesn't, then he hasn't set stuff up, and he's pensive in that second half. Year 2 last year, he became more patient a little bit. This year, it's going to be very interesting to see because you need patience. You look at KC and how patient they were. How many close games did they have? They were willing to run that football, throw to that tight end, and maybe the tight end gets dragged down before the first down. But now they're like, well, hey, you know what? We got to keep those linebackers in. We got to pinch them in. We got to creep them up.
Pacheco was running hard.
And then he would run the play action off, or he would run another play. He would create something, a jet sweep, and it all set things up. But that's Andy Reid. He's been doing it forever. Mike McDaniel was in the booth. He never called. He was a run game coordinator. Guy's doing pretty good. But patience is a major case. So
we got a 4-year QB and we got a 3-year head coach. We got to kind of remember that sometimes.
Yeah.
But there's no excuses for Miami. We haven't won a playoff game for way too long. People don't care about
there's no excuses for the next 2 years. No. Yeah. Nothing matters at this stage. Because Chris Greer, I'm not a big fan of him. I'm not a big fan of his philosophy. I'm half a fan of McDaniel's philosophy and half not. But they've got a philosophy. They got all the tools to accentuate their philosophy. There's no reason over the next 2 seasons they don't have real success. If they don't, it's just the philosophy is a failed philosophy.
It's going like this, though. Well, maybe some people think it's going like that. I think it's going like this across the board.
That's the past. This is this year. You've got to win a playoff game this year.
I guess I'm a little more patient. I've been watching football a long time, and I've had a lot of shitty years and lost a lot of games, and my heart's been broken. But when I see something going in the right direction, my patience level rises. When I see something going in the wrong direction, I want to stop and do something different. I can see us going in the right direction. So for me, if we're headed that way and the gains are incremental enough, big enough for me, man, just stay the course. You're only going to get better. The playbook's only going to get deeper. You're only going to add more wrinkles. You're only going to have more nonverbal communication with everybody on the field because you've been with them in the system there's just so many benefits to this continuity that we've never had. So I just want to see it out, man. Even if, I guess I think we got the right pieces. We need to shore up the O-line and some of the play calling, but I think we got the right pieces, and I'm a homer. You know that, Curtis.
Oh yeah, so. I think that you're at a holding point right now, and Marvin Lewis had that team going pretty good. They would make the playoffs. They were pretty good, but they never could get to the next level. So it could be that, or it could be like what you saw with some other teams that slowly increment and then they break free. We don't know. But this year and next year, it's got to be because, Hill's going to be out of the picture by then, by 20s, was it 24, 25, by 26. And that's a major piece to your puzzle along with Ramsey and Fuller. And, so you're going to have to reboot. You're going to have to, Teron's going to be gone. There's going to be a lot of pieces that are not here. And you have to replace them. And it's hard. How do you find another Hill? Waddle's good, but he's not Hill. Yeah. So
we just changed the offense a little bit, right?
What happened?
You just changed the offense a little bit as soon as Hill gets out.
Oh, yeah.
You just got to morph. Keep morphing. Do the Madonna. Just keep reinventing yourself.
The Madonna. I was like, I'm trying to see something here.
What's up, Hammer?
Oh, yeah, hi, I just want to look. I'm looking at the game. Let's see. We ran play action 61% of the time in that San Francisco game.
61% of the time.
61% of the dropbacks were play action. Wow. That means at least 5, 6, 7, 8 guys in the box. That means you're putting 3 receivers in routes only 39% of the time. Okay. And you were only blitzed 2 times. So out of 33 pass plays, 22 were play action. You were only blitzed twice. So you were throwing passes. And it's not to absolve him because he did make some missed plays. It's not to say he didn't have a good game.
There was off throws.
The framework is that you're seeing 2 and 3 guys against 7 guys the entire game in coverage.
Think about it. Just think about that for 1 second.
Let me see what let me see the pressure rate.
That's what Kurt Warner's talking about right there, that exact spot.
Yeah, okay, so here. Think about this fairly. And again, I am not a Tua lover. I've always been kind of towards him as a person, definitely towards him as a person. And I've seen his ability as a quarterback, but I've tried to play it down the middle. You make your own decision. So you're a quarterback. You throw 33 times. You have 27.28% pressure rate with 4 guys rushing you while you're play action 61% of the time. Is that a conducive environment to throw the football? Would you say that putting 2 and 3 guys into routes against 7 all day while you're still getting 28% pressure rate, is that a winning formula as a team and as a philosophy? I'm not saying he had a good game, but there's no way you can call that a winning philosophy. There's no way that you're running plays like that with 2 or 3 guys in routes, 7 guys there, 4 guys rushing you. I think the 2 blitzes were actually sacks, or 1 was a sack.
When you're rushing 4 all day,
that's not a winning environment.
It's winning for the defense.
And time to throw. So your kept clean time was 2.287 seconds. And your under pressure time to throw was 2.72, which is very low.
Yeah. Not
blitzed 91% of the time. And your time to throw is 2.44. 2.44 is like the vast majority of the team's normal throwing time.
We'll take that.
But that's pressured in 2.44. So I'm not saying Tua had a good game, but I just don't see that as a good setup.
It felt like a
Hammer. I saw you.
Moment for the whole team.
Thanks, brother. I'm sorry. A second. I'm missing guys. I'm tired, guys. I'm a little.
All right, get him in. Let's see.
I'm a little wiry. I haven't slept. I'm taking my poor dog out to the bathroom 3 times a night. Let's see. Chris is the man. Still, they win 2 to 12 games, 2 to 13 games this year, and all will be immaterial until the playoffs. Totally. Yeah, they could win 17 games and lose the first round, and it would be utter disaster. I totally agree on that.
Tua would be the worst quarterback in the NFL if he went 17-0 and lost in the playoffs first round.
0. No, I wouldn't say that 72.
72. How you doing, man? You are consistent. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, you can have that belief. I think when you say carry, do you mean he can carry a bad team against a good team? No, I don't think he can. I don't think
there's not many that can, man.
I don't think there's a guy. I don't think he's a guy that's going to put the team on his shoulder at this stage without audibles and without an inside run game. For me, and this is just I'm nobody. I really don't know that. I see Alf. I think Alf knows more about football than me. I think I played for a while. I think I'm somewhat knowledgeable. But I think it's very clear that you could build a more consistent scheme around him. You could build something around like the Saints used to run. You could build something even like the Titans run, and he could still thrive through that. He wouldn't have these vast passing stats, but it might make him more consistent and a better quarterback. But if you don't get a guy the ability to put multiple guys in routes for the majority of the time, and you got to run massive amounts of play action, you don't allow him to call audibles, it's hard to take over. Dan Marino would get to the line of scrimmage, and he would look at Fryer and put a number, and that's how he won his comeback game against after he blew his Achilles out against New England. It was like 4th and 10 or 4th and 11 or something. And he looked at Fryer and he called the fly. But if you can't do that, how much manipulation you have? This is all scheme mismatch. And so I don't know if he can, but I wouldn't say 0. I think the guy's got abilities. I think there's actually better things for him that would make him more consistent.
You have to be able to control the line of scrimmage in terms of audibling, moving guys around. You have to be able to consistently do that to be an elite quarterback. Think of every great quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. They'd get to the line plenty of time. Oh, there's my son. What's up, bud? How you doing, man? So, yeah, there's another Dolphins fan. That's my son, Logan. We'd get to the line, all those great quarterbacks, and they'd find a mismatch. They'd call it. Aaron Rodgers, get you to the line as fast as he can because he knows you're going to be offside. Tua's never had that kind of power over the huddle and over the line of scrimmage to audible. We don't give him time. But that's what I'm talking about with continuity in the same system. I bet your ass you're going to see Tua audibling this year. We have to make that connection this year, and that's when you start adding the wrinkles.
That's going to be a big one. When you're in the system long enough,
you
that says a lot.
You can't do it year 1. You can't do it year 2. Maybe if you're Aaron Rodgers and you already were in a system, you can do it year 1, year 2. But when did these guys start really doing that in their career and being really effective at moving guys around and changing the play? What year does that happen? People think it happens year 1. They thought Tua was supposed to show up doing it right now.
I'm just going to
49er for the last 5 years.
I don't think he's been restricted to call audibles on his ability. Anybody can. You see some of the worst quarterbacks calling audibles. It's offensive line because they call all this motion to create scheme mismatches because they don't trust the O-line. Everything's been designed to support the O-line. The whole system is. And I don't think it's his lack of ability. He might have no ability. I don't know. But you could not go to the line of scrimmage with this offensive line and not get the initial jump. And they do that through motion and through creating scheme mismatches. This whole thing is designed to create pre-snap reads for Tua to get to that position because they can't block long enough. The only way you could throw 2.09 seconds is you throw short like Brady did in 2021.
Like to a spot. Right?
Yeah,
people tell them a spot thrower.
You did in 21 too. Or you throw to a spot deep because you have the receivers there and you have a quick release and you throw to the spot. But if they're throwing short, they're not getting the yards they need to make this drive, and they're going to be off schedule, and the offensive line is going to become more prominent. So I think people really have to. It's so hard, you know. I spent a lot of years studying just the offensive line. I mean, I study other stuff, but ever since I played in college a little bit, I would just stay there and watch the offensive line coach, and I've always been enthralled by it. And a lot of people, it's hard to understand, but it sets the table for everything. And if you build your evaluation from that offensive line, it really can set what you're seeing much better. And I'm not saying I had all the answers, but when OC begins to game plan his pass game, the first thing he's thinking is, how many guys do I got to keep to protect, and how long can I protect? It's the very first thing. It creates the steps. How many drops you got? That's why McDaniel raised his screens. It's just like it always starts with protection and blocking. You know, and it doesn't mean you need the Dallas Cowboys, but that's where it starts.
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed says, who's a QB that carried a bad team to success in the postseason? Nobody. But indeed, you know, that makes me think of the fans that see a player carry a team, like a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes, week 13, whatever. It doesn't matter. They watch that and they go, oh, that's what a top elite quarterback does. They carry a team to a win. No, you just watched one. There was about 4 others where that guy didn't get it done because the rest of the team didn't help him enough. You just watched it once and think that's what they consistently do. They don't consistently carry a bad team. You might watch a game where Josh Allen runs for 110 and throws for 340 and just go, wow, this guy carries them. Well, watch the next game when he was 7 for 11 or 7 for 22 for 94 yards and 2 picks. Like, it doesn't consistently happen. So to see it, you psychologically think, oh, that's what happens all the time with these elite quarterbacks, and it just doesn't.
So this is a good one, DF. Analysis of Tua that doesn't account for his below-average arm just isn't honest. The QBs you're talking about have the ability to drive the ball into windows and velocity to beat defenders. Totally agree. But I would say, how do you grade an arm?
Kurt Warner would disagree with you and say that he could do all of those things with the arm that Tua has and the arm that Kurt Warner had. Well, Jared Goff doesn't have a strong arm. No one really calls that guy out.
They got a bigger arm than Tua because they're bigger guys. Kurt Warner's bigger. Goff is bigger. But Montana didn't have a big arm. And so I totally agree. He is not a guy that is going to use velocity to take. But DF, I think, knows more football than me, but I'm being nice. So,
is DF that big dude?
Yeah, he's my man.
Right.
He's my man. Like, before I die, I want to hang out with him and watch a football game. So DF, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt.
No, he's got a point. He really does. And that's what people view Tua as. They see that part, too, as a big downgrade. Yeah, go on, Curtis.
Well, the thing is, it's like the reason I started playing football, I like to hit people. But there's the beauty of football for me was I saw all different kinds of people, big, tall, skinny. I was like, wow, like it was, you can find your niche. Everything can, who would have thought Kyle Murray is not that good, but he would have played. But look at the cat. What was that guy, man? That played for the Patriots and stuff. The little guy who played Canadian football all those years ago. He was
Danny Woodhead. He's from
no. Before that, man, you're young. Damn. You're young. Before that, Damn. You know what I'm talking about, DF. So to me, everything is viable if the potency is good enough. And so when I look at Tua, what I would say is, well, what does this guy do well? Let's make it something that's going to hurt a defense. He has some mobility. He's got an ability to release very fast. That's one of the best releases ever. And you can get into windows and because the ball gets out quicker than the DB can react. And so that little fraction that he's getting it out quicker, it makes up for the velocity. Now, he's not throwing the deep out, 25 yards out and taking it on the run like Allen. He can't do that.
Back footing it 60 yards like Herbert. He's not going to do that.
for Tua to really reach his zenith, his maximum, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to have some mobility in his game. I think that's why he's dropping the weight, because when they do those sting blitzes, they could run him down. But if you notice last year, he was getting away from them and he was picking up some nice stuff. You want to use the quick release, his ability to throw with anticipation, and his accuracy. And the problem is, though, that skill set needs an inside run game. It needs a better offensive line. And what it really needs is a tight end.
Yes.
If we had a game-breaking tight end, a quality offensive line, and one good receiver, a big guy that he could throw to spots, and another guy that's fast, and you could run that football and then begin to get them to have doubt, and you get yourself, how come we don't ever see like a 3rd and 6, the small route combinations with the rubs, and he gets the ball out? Because they don't trust the ball to the line to protect that much. They don't have it involved because there's no the pre-snap motion is predetermined, and he's always in shotgun. If he gets under center, for example, once a quarterback gets on the sample, and I think he played defense, that ball gets snapped, they turn it back to the defense, the ball disappears, and the secondary and the linebackers, they got to stop to try to spot it. And if you do the play action, it actually confuses them. But when you're in shotgun and you do your play action draw, everybody sees it, goes nowhere, it does nothing. This kid, you put him on the center 30% of the time. You work off that play action. Doesn't have to be big chunk yards. You work the play action. You work some motion in to throw to his little spots. You get guys that he can get some route combinations with. You work the tight end and you pound the ball inside. You suck up that safety, you suck up the linebacker, and then you weaken the edges so he doesn't need such a big arm. Even big-armed Allen moved to a 2. They're going to 12 personnel this year.
Yes.
Brought in the second tight end. They're running the football. They're using motion now to get the run game off. Allen is supposed to be the guy, but they're moving to a better offensive line, run game, 2 tight end set, and they spent big money pick on a tight end while they still had a tight end.
A good one, too.
I think he does. His arm is average to slightly below, depending on the sector, but so is Breeze. But Breeze created almost perfect throwing hygiene. Every snap, his drop, plant, and release was like a carbon copy. And that, you watch his arms. Brady did the same thing. He didn't have a good arm, but it got better. He's bigger, but he perfected every little nuance he could get to get that little extra edge. And I think Tua could do enough with what he's got now and improve a little bit. And if he had a complementary offense, I think the guy could do well. I don't know if he's clutch enough. He could wet the bed in a big moment. He could get injured. You might need in a certain moment against a really good team, a deep 25 out, and he can't throw it, let's say. But for the most part, Montana won, Breeze won, Brady won. But Brady was all pre-snap movement, audibles, protection, short throws, and rack. And so I love you, DF. I disagree just a little bit.
No, you made some really good points, Curtis, and I got to get my heads out of the clouds sometimes, and I need guys like DF to remind me, like, Tua is limited. Tua is very limited in some of the stuff he does. One thing I really like is you compared him to Breeze, you compared him to Brady, and both of those guys, all 3 of those guys have now worked with Tom House.
Hold on a second. Alf, man, thank you, brother, for stopping by.
Thanks,
best,
man.
brother. Have a good day tomorrow.
Those 3 quarterbacks have worked with QB1. I believe it's called, or is it QB3? I don't even know. It's Tom House. Tom House's QB school, QB training. He worked with Brady. He worked with Breeze, helped him with their throwing motion, helped him maximize their arm strength and maximize the way they throw the football. So Tua knows he's not got a power arm. He's just done every single year to make sure his arm's just a little bit better. It's not going the other way, DF. It's getting better, man.
I agree with what you're saying, Chris. But it's the process is still early.
Not elite overall, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that. Totally.
There's a lot Tua's got to do. I guess I just believe in the traits that he does have transferring when it matters. But there's you guys that haven't seen it. You go, yeah, we haven't seen it, and I believe you. I can't say this guy can do something if he hasn't done it in the NFL yet. But I guess I just believe
I agree. He was taller, but when he came in, his arm wasn't hot. But
Brady his release got quicker every single year because he constantly worked in it, and that's something that Tua does. He constantly
Would
works.
you say, Jeff, would you say Breeze is in that category? How would you rate those two arms?
Trying to think of another good one.
It is his arm became comically underrated, but I wouldn't say comically underrated, but because he's a tall guy. He's like what, 6'4"? But when he came in, he wasn't throwing the way he was. He spent, I think it was year like 4, 5, and 6. He got the special coach in, and it really started to pick up.
Year 6, I think, yeah.
You know,
they had a really good offensive system for years. They had guys that knew what they were doing for a long time. Was it Charlie White? Was it Charlie Weiss? I remember him being good with Charlie Weiss.
He sucked. He sucked at Notre Dame. He was a good coach, man.
That guy had the biggest front, like lower belly. Charlie Weiss. That guy was.
But they had Dante Scarnecchia. That guy is
the king of O-lines.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how.
In a top 10 defense, and a really good special teams. Bill Belichick didn't have a
Hall of Fame tight end
every year. So they had a complete team those years.
You know, it was amazing.
Was
you know, it was amazing. Dante Scarnecchia. I don't know if it was every year, but most of the years they ran every blocking scheme, man, zone, everything. Everyone. I can't think of. There's a third one I can't think right now. But so when you were preparing for them, you didn't know how they were going to meet you, and he changed it up from week to week. That really, he was protected like so few people. And the guys they had, McDaniel was unbelievable. They all had this little game, and they won in those small areas. Like when it's 3rd and 6, do you really think they were going to throw for 7? It's either going to be a slant or a pocket post, but like we don't have these little things. And I'm hoping this year with OBJ and Jonnu, we get it. You know.
Yep. Yeah, and it seemed like you'd run the perfect defense for Brady and Bill back then, and he'd check it down to a little running back who'd get the first down. Like there was always an answer in that offensive scheme. There just seemed to be always an outlet, always somebody for Brady to go after his reads. And it seems like Tua doesn't have that sometimes. And I hope Achan's that guy this year. I hope Achan gets a lot of work in the passing game.
Oh, he does. Mahomes is like he's so slow to process. He's so
But he's got a rocket arm, right? That's the opposite. That's
Did you see the throw he had to the little guy they got in practice?
Yeah,
the guy they drafted. It was ridiculous. He rolled out to the left. The receiver ran a flare and then brought it back to a cross post to the end zone, and he came back like this and threw it, and it dropped, and it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when he was with the Jets, the arm was like, I think it was still less than Tua's, and he was really, really good.
Oh,
he got us to the postseason with that. His arm was like half of Tua's now.
Yeah. He would throw some floaters, but we were running the Wildcat. So when Pennington did throw, it wasn't like we needed it, you know?
I know.
That was a fun year.
So anyway, DF, you still love me, man?
We hope it goes right this year. I'm not a
Tua lover. I'm just trying to be fair. I think in my own delusions, I could build a better offense. I just think, man, you put a nice tight end on this team, a really good center.
We got a tight end, Curtis.
Flesh it out. Yeah, he's good.
Wait till you see Jonnu play, man. He's amazing.
Yeah, no, I like him. But he's going to be here for a year, maybe 2, you know? I mean, I'm talking about long term. You get, your Kelsey, your Kittle, you get your Gronk or something like that. I just think with a nice interior run game, but that's just me. Part of late answers. Part of a late answer is the ability to see a guy late and drill him with the ball. Yeah, Tua could sometimes do that over the middle, but no, he doesn't have that arm, man. I mean, he loves me good because if he doesn't, he gonna pound me to the earth. No, you got to be honest. definitely. I appreciate it. That's why Chris Jones busts my chops all the time. He's got me doing this offensive line thing over here. But I love it because how am I ever going to question myself and find out if I'm wrong? I'm never wrong, but if I am, I want to know. And you guys do that for me. So I appreciate that. I really do. I love you guys. All of you, man. You're cool dudes. So that's my take. Cody, what else you got, man? I'm running low here.
Not much. Just ready for some football, man. I want all of us, whether you're a Tua believer or not, I just want us Dolphins fans to have a fun season, man, and have some success and kick some of these demons, these monkeys on our back here, man. Like, we're all just fiending for it. Lord of the Flies. We're all getting after each other until we get a win here.
Oh, wait.
Postseason.
My power supply is going to go dead.
Okay, I'm glad it's telling you that because I don't want to be alone again.
All right, guys. I'm getting the beeps over here. You guys are the best. I appreciate everything. I'll be back next week. I do appreciate everything you guys do. You're the best. I will talk to you later because I'm going to get cut off if I don't.
Fins up.